What's up guys, welcome back. Today I've got a really exciting plugin to show you. It is the latest release from the folks over at Heavyocity, and it is called Damage Machina. If you didn't see my other video on Oblivion Aggression Designer from Heavyocity, go check that out. If you want to sound anything like the Doom soundtrack or Doom Eternal, you're going to want to take a listen to that plugin and probably buy it for yourself. But today we've got an awesome collaboration between Heavyocity and Robert Dudzic, which he's an amazing sound designer, and he goes out in the field and captures all these crazy, unique, and cool sounds, and they collaborated together on this to create Damage Machina, a source of gears and mech sounds and clocks and ticks and mechanical stuff. It's really awesome. It's a percussion plugin, so there's no real melodic stuff to it, but it's an awesome percussive VST, and we're going to take a look at that here today. So as always, I'm going to give a broad overview of the different sections of the plugin because it can be quite confusing with the Heavyocity stuff. There's a lot to their plugins. They go deep, wide, and far, and there's a lot of customization that you can do, so it's good to kind of walk through everything. But if you don't want to learn all the technical details and you want to skip ahead, I'll have chapters in this video, so if you want to skip to all the presets and the fun sounds and stuff like that, you can go ahead and go do that now. But before we even get into anything else, I want to play you a short little piece that I kind of came up with using Damage Machina as a textural and percussive motivator and motion creator in this piece. So I want to utilize it and show you guys a little bit of what it can do with my very limited composition skills. So let's take a listen to that right now. Okay, so that was the little piece that's definitely not a finished product whatsoever. I called it Cogs of War because it's kind of reminding me of like some small mech soldiers marching into battle or something like that. I don't really know, but just listen to this Damage Machina on its own. Now that's a mix of different loops and pedals and individual notes and stuff, well, notes, impacts, and sounds that I put together to create that kind of rhythmic texture. So it's really, really, really cool stuff. So I'm going to open up a fresh new project. We're going to open up Damage Machina on its own, and now we're going to walk through the plugin. All right, so when you open Damage Machina up in the contact player, this is what you are met with, and there are two main sections to this plugin. There is the Ensemble Designer and the Loop Designer, and they are two different whole engines within this plugin, and they both have their own purposes. So we're going to walk through both. I'm going to go as simply and as swiftly as I can and explain everything. Hopefully I don't miss anything, but I probably will. But just to give you an idea of what these different sections of this plugin do. So we're going to start with the Machina Ensemble Designer. Now this is really cool because it provides you a sound stage here represented by all these dots you see. So this square rectangle is the stage, and all these other dots that are laid out on here, or these circles, are actually sounds. So you can see when I play stuff, they show up and light up. So this is how you set the stage in a 3D space for yourself, and you can kind of customize this however you want. So if I play this rhythmic pedal here and move it around, it messes with the 3D stereo image that you hear in terms of the placement of where that instrument is at in the soundstage, which is really, really cool. I wish more plugins would do that. You can narrow the soundstage if you want with these dial things here on the side and bring everything forward, or narrow it more in the middle. There's a lot you can do to customize these, and you can move them wherever you want. And just below that, you've got 5 different mic positions that you can also mix in different ways to get a sound that you're looking for. So I'm going to turn all of these off so you can hear them individually, but you've got a close, an overhead, room, hall, and LFE mic positions. So this is what the close sounds like. Right? Basically what you'd expect. Then you've got overheads. Then you've got the room. You've got the hall. And then you've got the LFE. So all of those, you can mix and match them however you want to create the sound and the space that you're looking for. And then if you go over here and click the drum button on the left side, you can fine tune each individual piece of sound that you have on your soundstage. So you can click this one that we've been playing, and you can adjust the volume. You can adjust the tuning. You can adjust the low end. Or the high end. You can adjust the attack. And the release. So all ways to mix and match these sounds to be exactly how you want them to be in your soundstage. So it's really, really awesome. And then down here, you've got just kind of this representation of what you're playing and stuff like that. And this, you know, it just shows you where you're playing. So that's really cool. Just a reference source for when you're playing on a keyboard. So yeah, that's how you set up the soundstage. Now, you're probably asking, where do you get the sounds from? Well, that's over in the source section. So you've got your piano roll laid out here on the side from C2 all the way up to C4. So you got 3 octaves of sounds that you can throw over here. And you got these different categories on the side that you can see here. Timekeepers, which is a bunch of like clock sounds, found sounds, which is like a lot of random metal sounds. Pinball mechanics from pinball machines that have a lot of cool different sounds. Mechanicals, which are a bunch of mechanical sounds, which I really like because it's got all the typewriters in it, which was a thing Robert Dudzic was very excited about, getting the typewriters in here. You got junkyard mechs with a bunch of different sounds in these. You got steam engines. That's really cool. Impacts. Low enders. You can hear some chains. Low enders. Effects and transitions. So you can add transitions and special effects. You know, and then you got a favorite section where you can add your favorite sounds and stuff. So really cool stuff. What makes me really excited about this plugin is all the stuff that Robert Dudzic, again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that he went and recorded in the field, all these big machines and all these mech sounds and stuff like that. All these different machines and it's just really cool. All these like sounds. I like it a lot. But anyway, if you want to load any of these up to create your own ensemble, all you got to do is find a sound you like and drag it over to what note you want it to be at. So now, that's what I'm playing. But if I want to change that note to a steam engine, grab this one. Now that's what I'm playing. So you can customize every single note to be what you want it to be to create your own ensemble, which will be represented over here. And then you can mix and, create your sound stage with the sources that you pick. Now, if you don't want to go so intricate as to picking every individual sound for every individual note on your keyboard, you can go to the bank section, which has groups of sounds that you can just drag and drop over here, and it'll put it through the whole octave. And now you've got clock sounds throughout all of those notes, and you didn't have to pick a sound for every single individual note. So it's a quicker way to get stuff in there if you like your group of sounds. Makes things really easy. So that's the sources. Then you've got settings here, but you're like global settings. So you got the global settings section at the top with round robin, velocity, randomization, your velocity curve, your MIDI velocity, and the voice cancel. So the biggest thing about this, you can adjust your velocity curve however you want here, right? You can change it to be whatever you need. But the biggest thing that I would say is this round robin button. Because with it off, this is what the loop sounds like. It's repetitive. With it on, it does something with the samples and rotates them to make it sound more human and like it's actually being played. And you can really up that if you want by doing the velocity randomization and really humanize that sound. So that is really awesome. But I would recommend leaving the round robin option on. That's just me. Then you've got this section down here that's pre-drum control. So this is a global control for the sound of the ensemble, right? So you can have this and that sound, and if you tune it way down, now it's real low. So you can change all your sounds from here as well, and the volume and the tone and everything like you could earlier, and the stage. So you can again do some further adjusting if you need. Then you've got the performance section here, which is really, really cool. All right. So we have these different sections from crescendo, swell, flam, roll, and repeat. With crescendo, the same loop that I've been playing this whole time sounds like this. It crescendoed for 2 bars, and you can change the length to whatever you want. An eighth note, right? A half note. Right? So you can do some cool crescendos and transitions. You can adjust the rate and the amount, right? Which is like the velocity difference. And then you can also randomize them. If you want to get the time real random, it can be really, really, really off, especially when you have the repeat on for the loop. The time is just drunk. And then you can also alternate the velocity at random and sound absolutely plastered, or like someone who has no rhythm. So if that's something you're looking for, then that's like a thing. If you want to use it, I would probably never use it, but it's there if you need it. I'm going to reset everything because I don't know what it was at, but yeah, that's kind of cool. But over here you can change the rate as well with the repeat. And set it to eighth notes. You can do the 16th, 32nd, quarter, and you can change the length of how many beats you want it to go for. So 9, and that just kind of changes the phrasing of when the whole loop repeats. You can also turn the loop off, and it ends like that. Or you can keep it on and let it keep going. And you can change the amount as well with the accent. Now, the accent is fun because it can accent the upbeat, the downbeat, the first or the last beat, and then a modulation section. So let's do the upbeat. But let's change this to eighth. It'll do the upbeats, then the downbeats. And then the first note. And the last note. Right, so it's just different ways to make it sound more humanized. And then you've got the swell section after crescendo, which is kind of similar, but kind of similar to crescendo, just slightly different. Then you've got flam, which is cool. If you're a drummer or a percussionist, you know what a flam is. It's essentially two notes played kind of out of sync, just boom, one right after the other. And you can change the rate down if you want them spread apart more, right? Or speed it up and have a real tight flam. And the amount that's, you know, velocitized. You can randomize all these things with the velocity and time from crescendo to repeat. So there's a lot of customization there. And if you like these settings for this loop, but you want to, you know, let's say you change the amount down this way and the time up this way, the velocity up here, and you change the rate to something over here and the length up to 5, and you really like that sound. Well, you want to add it to this loop. Well, all you got to do is go back to the original section you had, play that note, hit copy, play the note of the loop that you want to adjust those settings to, and hit paste. Now those same settings that were on this one are on this one. And man, that sounds terrible, but you can copy and paste from loop to loop, which is really nice, so you don't have to dial everything in individually. It just saves you time. So that is the settings section. Now you've got the master effects section, which is the fun playground section, right? That is where we get to really mess and mangle with the sound. So I'm actually going to go back and readjust that because that is going to be obnoxious and annoying. So in the master effects section, we get to really mangle the sound. You've got the punish knob, which is kind of the whole thing with damage in the damage engine. You get to really mangle the sound. You got 3 modes: gently now, hurt me plenty, and nightmare. So, and they all have a dial to really ramp up that aggression. You can also adjust the tone and response over here if you really want, but the real fun stuff is also down here, where you've got all the different effects. You've got a filter with cutoff and resonance, with low pass, high pass, peaks, notches, all the fun stuff that you can add a filter to with a cutoff. Then you've got punish, which is this knob. You've got an EQ with 3 bands and the gain that you can adjust individually and the amount added into the signal chain. You've got compression with a mix knob, and you've got a feedback and bus compression section. So you've got all your settings for those. You've also got a saturation section that you can add with drive, warmth, roll off, and output gain with a drive knob right here because it's usually what you go for in saturation. It's linked together. Then you've got delay with a modern and vintage delay section with all your settings there. And then you've also got a reverb with plate, room, and hall sections of reverb that you can all add to your sound to, you know, make it however you want. However you want to sound design is how you want to sound design. This just gives you the tools to be able to do it. And so that is the designer. I know it's been a lot of information. And we're only halfway done. So there's been a lot of information. Take it in, take a breath for a moment, and we will move on now to the loop designer, which is a completely, not completely, but different section of this plugin. So let's do it. Hold your breath. It's going to be okay. Now we've got the loop designer, okay? This is also very fun to mess with. So another way to design your sounds. Now, all of these are going to be loops, every single note. When before the Ensemble Designer, all the white keys were individual hits, and the black keys were loops. These are all the loops, baby. All of them. They're all in here, and you can see the waveform up top, which is adjustable and customizable. So you've got these 3 flags, right? So the white one is going to be where it starts when you press the key. That's where the sample will start from, the loop. But these orange ones are where you want the loop to repeat. So if you just want to repeat one section, you drag it over like this, and it's only going to play within those flags. But if you want it for whatever reason to start here, and then once it gets here, repeat the section, that's kind of what the white flag is for. So now that it gets in between these, it's going to stay between them, right? So that's really useful to really customize and pick and choose what parts of the samples you want to keep. I mean, you could even go as far as to pick like, you know, individual notes and just have it repeat an individual note at that point, right? So there's different things that you can do. All right. And then you can adjust the volume, the panning, tune, speed, and send to your send effects, which we'll get to in a few minutes, right below that. So now you've got the representations of what you're playing down here, and we're just going to do this. And then you've also got a stutter section here down on the bottom left, which is your C0 section over here that adjusts all of this stuff. So you can adjust a stutter for whatever loops you're playing. And you can go from straight notes to triplets if you really want. Right? So you got that if that's something you want to mess with. And then you've got transitions at C5, right? That are different transitions. Which is really cool as well. So you can add that into things and make cool transitions into different sections. And then you've got the designer keys. So the designer keys is something really interesting that you can use as a section to create your own mix of different loops together, okay? So you'll have to click learn, and then from there you pick the notes in the C2 section, C3, and C4 section that you want to have played simultaneously. So let's pick this here, we'll pick this here, and then we'll pick this here, okay? So now that that's learned, if we go to play C1, which is the designer keys, those three should be the things that are looping. So now if I want to go to D1, then all I got to do is hit learn, and then I'm going to go over here to C2 and pick the E flat. And then we're going to pick in the 3 section, we're going to pick the F. And then in 4, we're going to pick the high B flat, right? So now we unlearn, and those 3 notes are picked up here, as you can see. So when I go into the designer key section at C1, but play D1, which is what we just crafted, we just created our own interesting loop. Now that's really fun if you ask me. You can really customize things right at this first page and make some cool sounding loops for whatever you want to do. And you can add in some stutters and some transitions in there to really get things moving and have it sound unique to you. Now, you got the source section similar to before. So if you really want to swap out some of these sources, because there are way more than what you're going to cover here in 36 notes here, there are a lot of sources. So you can do the same thing as before. You find something you like, and you're going to drag it like this to whatever note, and then that's where it's going to reside. So you can craft your own thing note for note. There's also banks as before. So you've got these different sections of organic, hybrid, experimental, same thing with the loops, and you got reverses and impacts in the loops. But the banks, you know, you can just find this and it goes to that whole octave. So you can do things in broad strokes or finer strokes depending on whatever you want to do. So now I'm going to reset this because that's pretty much the same as what it was in the Ensemble Designer. Now we get to the send effects. Now this is going to maybe be a little confusing, but it's really not if you know what you're doing. So you've got the effects modulation here where you can open the modulator with the LFO, and you can power this on and have this modulate whatever effects you got going on. So you can adjust this by clicking and drawing around if you want, or you have these presets down here that you can pick from to adjust to whatever you want. You got ups, downs, triangles, combs, and you got triangles or signs, sorry. And you've also got a straight dead line to start from blank. So what that does is it helps modulate your sound with some of the effects that you're throwing on. And then you can do straights or triplets with different steps in between here. You can increase them to 40, so you got more steps to work with. You can affect the range over here that you see that adjusts on the knob, how far it moves, and how smooth it is. you know, all the typical like LFO style modulation that you would do with synths in sound design. It's all in here. So there's a lot that you can do between legato and re-triggering and host and one-shots, and you can adjust the rate and how fast it's being played through this LFO and everything. So it's very confusing for people who don't understand, but for people who do, it's really cool. You may not have to worry about this, but it's just another way to really customize your sound and do different things with it, if that makes sense. Now, once you get down to the bottom where the actual effects are, you can see here in the middle, we've got these 4 effects that are turned on. You can see these orange lights are the toggles for on and off, but we've got this temporal delay, modulation, distortion, and something reverb. I'm not sure, RV plate reverb or something. And they all have their own individual control knobs when you click on them. So let's say you don't like these effects that are on here. Well, you've got these banks on the left and right hand side of your effects here that you can pick and choose from. So instead of having this temporal delay or whatever, temporal delay, let's say you want to add some type of filter. You just click and drag right here and it'll replace it for you. So you can kind of do your own effects chain over here to further mess with your sound and modulate them up here at the top. There's all sorts of things you can pick from with spatial sounds and timbral sounds to, you know, really mangle and mess with your sound. And the only way that you're really going to hear it is if you go back to the loop section and turn up the send knob. I forgot to say that at the beginning, but this is where you're feeding this loop to the effects over here. So now you can really hear the effects that it's having. Turn up that drive. Even more distortion. And you're just doing different things to different things, right? This is without it. And then with it. So it's not crazy, but it's just another way to do sound design if you really want to do that. So it's really cool. You've got these extra effects that you can do with the LFO and everything. Really classic synth type changing of your sound. But then you've also got the master effects section as we discussed in the Ensemble Designer. So this is literally exactly the same. All the same settings. You got the punish and your filter, compression, EQ, all that stuff is here as your master effects. So that is the plugin overview. So now we're going to take a look at a few presets before I let you get out of here and buy this plugin for yourself. So now we're going to take a look at some of these presets here while I still got your attention. So let's go to All Stars and pick Attack of the Typewriters Straight. Okay, so this one has loaded a bunch of typewriter sounds and it's going to have some crazy stuff in here. If I can play at the same time. So that's really cool. You got all these different like loops and stuff that you have built into here. It's just really cool stuff. And it's a bunch of sounds from typewriters. Let's pick some other ones in the All-Stars. Let's pick Jurassic Machines. That sounds kind of cool. So you can see the ensemble here has changed. So what do we got here, huh? Ooh, what are the sources, huh? We got a mech swell is what we got going over here. Oh, you can see it up top too. It's a really cool sound design stuff right here. Really, really cool sounds. Monster typewriter. What's this? It's just a bunch of cool sounds. I mean, there's so many cool things here. Pinball machines. For any of you that are filmmakers out there like myself, this is just like a sound design playground. Subterranean creatures. Just really cool sounds. I'm serious. Like, these are so cool. Let's check out Found Sound and Timekeepers. Found Mechs Ensemble, huh? There's all sorts of sounds here, and you can do all sorts of things with them. And I mean, it's just so cool to me. Timekeeping clocks. It's just really cool. Ooh. It's little ear candy for me. Sound design and adding to music. Like, it's just, that's cool. It's just like, all these sounds are so freaking cool, man. Like, mechanical sounds, booming wooden machine. It's just, it's so cool. I know. It's, I don't know what else to say other than it's really freaking cool. Like, there's so much potential for what you can do with these sounds. That's the thing that excites me. You can use it in music or sound design for film and Foley and all sorts of stuff. Like, and this is stuff I like a lot. It's just, oh man, I'm gonna repeat myself. I'm gonna repeat myself a lot. Because these sounds are just, there's something about them I really like. I already use some mechanical clock type of sounds for a lot of my sound design in my filmmaking and stuff. So like for transitions and when I'm doing close-ups of like camera gear and stuff like that, it's really cool to have these kinds of sounds, and it's a really fun sound design playground for me as a filmmaker. Now, you've also got the loop designer here where you can go straight or triplet. So we'll go straight, and then you've got all these different loop presets that they have in here for you. So I've just, and let's see, subterranean pulsations. That's cool. It's like a heartbeat almost. Really, really cool stuff. Mid loops. I love that. It's just so cool. Echoing gear. Oh, wait. Hold up. Cinematic pulses. Just play a bunch of random notes. Yeah. I just like this style of percussion. I don't really know what to say. It really does something for me, and I really like it. And you can see how easy it is just to come up with some really cool pulses and stuff for whatever you're working on by just pushing a couple of notes, right? It's so cool, guys. I love this type of stuff that's like non-traditional percussion. It really, really hits me somewhere that I can't explain. And maybe it's my inner percussionist coming out, because I was a percussionist from 5th grade through high school, and seeing those old school like commercial things like in the movie theaters and stuff. I don't remember what they were called, but there was a bunch of percussion people. They were like banging on big steel barrels and stuff in this like really blank white room and all, making these cool polyrhythms and stuff like that. Just percussion stuff. It's really cool to me, and maybe I'm biased because I'm also a percussionist, but this is really cool. I love this entire plugin, and it's very useful to me on multiple levels. I could put it in my metal stuff for texture and for driving motion and all sorts of different sound design things, and even on just straight sound design where it's not entirely musical per se, just sound design for filmmaking and sound effects for drums and big hits and impacts, and just like I said, close-ups of camera gear where like I'm turning a lens gear and it's like click, 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 click from something in here. Really cool stuff. I absolutely am falling in love with Heavyocity as a whole. Their entire library is so cool, and I have been very grateful and thankful to the guys over at Heavyocity for working with me on Damage Machina and on Oblivion Aggression Designer. It's been a blast checking out these plugins. Again, they haven't paid me or anything to say anything whatsoever about these plugins. I just genuinely really like the stuff that they put out. It's right up my alley. It's aggressive, and it hits a part of my brain that really, really finds this stuff really, really cool. So if you haven't seen my video on Oblivion, go check that out. I will leave links for both Damage Machina and Oblivion down in the description. And if you have any questions about either of these plugins, let me know down in the comments. I am still learning so much about both of them because there's so much to them, but I hope I gave you enough of an idea if this plugin is for you or not. So yeah, links down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Damage Machina by Heavyocity. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Stay metal, my friends.